Hello and welcome. Happy Friday, everybody. It is Friday, November 14th, 2025. Welcome to the Dental Buyer Advocates webinar on the five things every dentist needs to buy a dental practice. I am Craig. I'll introduce myself a little bit more in just a moment. Let me just apologize for last week. If you were here at that webinar, a little technical difficulty, and I think a lot of people didn't get the right link, possibly myself included. But we're here today. I hope you're having a good day, and I hope it's about to get a little bit better because in this live stream, I'm it says here, talking about the five things you'll need to purchase a dental practice. And I'm going to be giving you some actionable tips, some goals that you can look toward as you consider purchasing a dental practice. So, let's get started with a little introduction. This was me with a little more flow in my hair. In fact, I can blow this up a little bit. I am Craig, the Director of Business Development at Dental Buyer Advocates. I have a background in business banking. I've been a small business owner myself, and I've been with Dental Buyer Advocates for the last 5 years or so. And so I helped hundreds, thousands of dentists like you understand this process, especially at this stage in the journey to ownership, this preparation phase, searching for a practice to buy, making sure that you are prepared financially, clinically, and otherwise to own a practice. So that is my goal here today, is to help you with that. We're going to be hosting these every week, so I hope that you will stick with us as we go through this and ask questions as well. Okay, at the end of this webinar, we're going to have time for a Q&A. So if you have any questions that I can answer for you, just hit the chat, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube or somewhere else. Just hit that chat with any questions you have, and I'll try to address those when we get to the end of this webinar. All right, so five things every dentist needs to buy a dental practice. They are right here: cash, credit, production history. We're going to talk a little bit about each one of these, and then, like I said, give you a chance to ask the questions you have. All right, so the first one. Now, as I get into these, you're going to notice it's about money and it's about production. Okay, and why is that? Well, I'll give you a bit of little peel back the curtain. Okay, when we talk about these five things, including maybe especially this number one, when we're talking about these five things, we say, what do I need in order to buy a dental practice? But really, what it comes down to is, what do I need in order to get a loan to buy a dental practice? And these things are very intertwined, right? It's you're preparing yourself clinically and financially, but these things are these are guidelines that the banks are going to be using in order to approve or not approve a loan for a dentist. All right, so first one up is cash. All right, you'll see here it's lesser of 10% or 50K. What does that mean? All right, when we talk about cash, this is cash, liquid assets, liquid cash that you need to have on hand for a dental practice purchase. The lesser of 10% of the purchase price or $50,000. This is, again, a general guideline. I'll come back to that in just a moment. But what this means is that if you're buying a very small practice, let's say it does $400,000 in annual collections, you're going to want to have 10% of that purchase price on hand, or $40,000. Now, that's the lesser of these two, right? So if you're buying $1 million practice, and you need it does $1 million in collections. Do you need $100,000 in cash on hand? Not necessarily. Okay, so it's the lesser of these two. So in that, for that $1 million practice, you're still going to be eyeing that 50,000 as a goal. Now, every practice, every purchase, every loan is going to be a little bit different. And so, like Captain Jack Sparrow says, these are more like guidelines, right? Okay, these are not hard and fast numbers. These are goals for you to set your sights on, because every bank is going to require something a little bit different for each deal. But obviously, we can't prepare for every single potential permutation. But these are really good guidelines for how you can start your preparation. So your goal here is to acquire $50,000 in liquid cash. We're talking checking account, savings account, that sort of thing, not your 401k. This isn't your stocks, no retirement accounts, nothing like that. These need to be accessible funds. All right, now here's the nice thing about this particular goal. This cash that you have on hand, this is not a down payment. Buying a dental practice is not like purchasing a home. So when you are saving up your $50,000 in liquid cash, What's nice about it is you're not going to be handing it right over. Okay, this money is not disappearing. What you're doing instead is you're signaling to the bank that you are a good borrower. It does a few things in that way. First of all, sets you up with a nice rainy day fund once you step into the owner's chair, right? So you're so excited. It's your first day as a new dental practice owner. Couldn't be more thrilled. You're ready to get going, hit the ground running. And oh boy, I can't believe I met my goal of closing on my practice by the end of February 2020. Right? And so that if that happens, all right, now you're a practice owner. And next month, what's going to happen? COVID, right? You never know. There's always some event, or there could be some event that throws a wrench in the works. Hopefully, nothing as big as COVID. But the point remains you want to have that little safety net for yourself so that you would be able to make ends meet in an emergency for at least a little while. Um, Obviously, COVID being a black swan event, but who knows what happens? Some illness, or an employee quits, or what have you. It could be damage in the office that has to get repaired, and you have to close down for a couple of days. Regardless of what the reason may be, having that safety net is important. The other thing it does for you is signals to the bank that you are a good borrower because you know how to manage your money. You've been out of dental school for a little while. We'll talk in just a moment about how long you've been out of dental school, but you've been out of school for a little while. And yeah, you were on your rice and beans diet while you were in school, but now you've been an associate or an employee somewhere making some pretty good cash, right? Associate and employee dentists, they make an admirable amount of money. But did you spend it all right away? Did you go out and buy the brand new pickup truck or the huge house or whatever? Or have you been frugal? Are you able to make sure that you are setting aside some of this money that you're getting? This is a good signal to the bank that you are a good borrower in that way as well. So when it comes time to close on your loan, you've made the application, you've got the approval. The bank is going to want to see that you have this liquid cash in your account. So be prepared with that. All right. Goal number two, or I should say, or item number two, is production history. Now, what we're going for here is the magic number of 80%. It's a little bit of a squishy number, but again, it's a really good guideline to go by. When we talk about 80% of the seller's production, we're talking about hand speed, procedures, and sales skills. Okay. So, what this means is that you can put it in number form. If you're looking at production reports from the practice that you're thinking about buying, and you see, okay, so this practice does $1 million in collections every year. We'll use nice round numbers. This practice does 1 million in collections every year. Hygiene makes up 25% of that. Okay, so the doctor is doing $750,000 in production, in collections, however you want to split it or however you want to think of it. But let's talk about production, I guess, in this case. So he's doing $750,000 worth of production every year. Do you need to be able to do that? Well, no, but pretty close, right? Somewhere in that neighborhood. So 80% basically is taking into account that you're going to be able to keep up with what the selling doctor has been doing. However, you are not expected to be able to do exactly what the selling doctor has been doing. This selling doctor who is probably 20, 30, 40 years into a career where they can do a lot of these procedures in their sleep. You're good at them, right? You've been out of school for a little while and you're good at them, but it's going to take years to obtain that kind of hand speed, those kinds of in your sleep clinical skills, right? And banks understand that. And so you don't have to do 100%, call it 80% as your magic number. Same thing with procedures, right? If you are stepping into a practice where a good solid 30-40% of their collections comes from procedures like implants, and you don't do implants, well, you're kind of sunk because you step in as the new owner of that practice, and suddenly you're referring out all of the implant cases. Well, now the collections at that practice are going to take a nosedive, and you're going to be in trouble as far as paying back your loan, and that's what we want to avoid. So this is a great example of how my kind of principle, or the way that I think about banks as a gatekeeper to practice ownership, but a really useful one, and oftentimes a really friendly one, right? It's the beast at the gate, but the beast has a nice big smile on the face. What I'm talking about here is, yes, it is a bit of a gatekeeping situation, but you should look at that as a positive for you, because you have a situation where the bank is going to make sure that their loan is protected, and that you therefore are protected as the purchaser, as the borrower. Lastly, here I did list sales skills. That is important to note. Just that if you are, let's say you've spent your first 3 years as an associate doctor somewhere at a pure PPO practice, all you're doing is billing insurance all day, and then you go to purchase a different practice, and you find out that they do pure fee for service, right? Or it's out of market, or it's total cash payments on that. Well, if that's the case, you're going to need to know how to sell the procedures that you're doing to your patients. The selling doctor has been practicing that for years and years and years, exactly how to make sure that patients understand the value of the procedures, so that you don't, so that they don't lose out on that patient, that procedure, that income. And if you've been doing PPO, that's fine, but you haven't had that practice. So that would be something to consider. Do you have the skills to be able to communicate with patients in the way that the seller has been doing? Okay. So again, magic number is 80% here. Regardless, all right, our production history is our number 2 item. What's our goal here? The goal is to work as hard as you can and keep track of it. All right, that's an important point. Military doctors have a little bit. You can call me sometime and we can talk through your military experience and how that's going to be a little bit different for you. But for the rest of you, essentially what this means is find a really good associate or employee job. If it's not obvious right out of school, then keep looking around until you find the right job that's going to give you the production experience that you need. Okay, so something that's going to keep you busy, giving you lots of production history, and keep track of it. Okay, pull those reports, pull them every month or so. Make sure you're keeping track of your production reports, because they will be necessary. When you apply for a loan, they're going to ask you for those production reports, so that the bank and your CPA and your buyer's coach, like us, can help you compare that to what the seller's doing. Okay, so whether you're printing out a hard copy, you're saving PDFs, what have you, make sure you keep track of your production history and work as hard as you can. All right, number 3. This one's nice and easy. Okay, credit score over 680, like it says there. This is a pass fail. So this is among the 5 points that we'll bring up here, the 5 things that you need to buy a practice. This one is the kind of the most set in stone, or it's the brightest line. Maybe that's the best way to put it. It's the brightest line you've got. Okay, so if you have a credit score that is 681, great, you're good to go. If it's 679, you're in trouble. All right, this is very much a pass fail kind of situation. Different banks will have slightly different red lines sometimes depending on the deal, but consider this one pretty much set in stone. Consider that line pretty bright. If you don't have a 680 credit score, engage someone who can help you to increase your credit score until you get there. Okay, so your goal here, pretty simple: pay your bills, build your credit. Easy as that. Number 4, similarly, is about your credit, and this is about your credit history. But this one is a little different, because stories do matter here. Where the credit score of 680 is pretty much a pass fail here, your clean credit history is also, it should be thought of as a pass fail. Do not play around with bankruptcies and short sales and that sort of thing. If at all possible, you want to avoid those major credit blemishes. But that being said, if something happened to you 10 years ago, it still shows up on your credit, but hey, it was a long time ago. There's a story about how you came back from that, or what have you. Those stories do matter. Okay. So it's not as purely a pass fail as the other one. But again, avoid that if at all possible here, right? Your goal: no bankruptcies, no short sales, and other major credit blemishes. Keep that credit clean. And lastly, oh my gosh, we're already to the end here, or at least close to it, 15 minutes in. Number five, 1 year of experience. So every once in a while, I'll chat with, a D3 or a D4 who says, "Oh, I'm so excited to graduate. I've got my eye on practice ownership. I've already started reaching out to people to buy their practices." And yeah, in most of those cases, you kind of have to pull them back and say, "All right, hang on just a minute here." Because it will be required in almost every case that you have at least a year of experience. Uh, this one is similar to the cash reserves and to the production history. There's a real purpose behind this, and it's a good one. Again, we're talking about friendly gatekeepers, right? This one is about making sure that you have the clinical skills and speed to be able to keep up with practice ownership, because now you're going to be adding management and business leadership and management under your belt on top of the clinical skills that you need to have developed. And so if you're doing that right out of school, now you're asking yourself to develop two sets of skills, two very different sets of skills simultaneously, side by side. Very difficult thing to do. And so it is in your best interest in almost every case to have at least a year of experience out of school for that reason. And also because, frankly, this goes for anybody, not just dentists, but you guys for sure. When you graduate and you've got that shiny diploma, you've got that doctor in front of your name, and you're ready to get going on your career, that first year is a massive time of learning what it is that you actually like, both clinically and professionally. What is it that you actually like to do when it comes to dentistry? What kind of procedures do you gravitate toward? What do you push away from? What do you not enjoy doing so much? And then management as well. Having a chance to work, whether it's in a private practice, a DSO, or what have you, having that experience of having a boss is absolutely invaluable when it comes to you eventually being a boss. Knowing what kind of management style you want to emulate, what kind of management style you want to practice. So this will be really important to have that year of experience. And this goes along with that production history, right? So make sure you gain that experience, work as hard as you can, keep track of it, all of that. Your goal here is, again, to work hard, but identify what it is that you want in a future practice. Like I said, both clinically and managerially. Okay, so at this point, let me pause before I've got a little bit of a bonus here that we're going to go over. But I do want to let you know, if whether you are watching this live or you're coming in a little bit later, um, and watching the replay of this, I wanted to, here we go, put this little QR code up in the top corner. It's got the fancy little duck for the streaming service that I use here. But this QR code, if you use your phone to scan that, will take you to my contact information, get my email address, my phone number. You can schedule an appointment with me. If you have questions about any of this stuff that we're talking about in this webinar today, then hit me up. Let me know. Shoot me an email. You can send me a text message. You can schedule a time for me to give you a call, and we'll talk through next steps, questions, the best things that you can do to prepare right now. Anything that you need as far as preparation on your journey to ownership, I'm happy to help with that. So make sure you take advantage of that QR code right there. All right. So we've gone through the five things that you need to be prepared to purchase a practice. You need cash, you need production history, you need a credit score over 680, you need clean credit history, and lastly, you need a year of experience. By the way, one last note on that one. I say sorry, gunners here, those D3s and D4s who want to purchase right out of school. One place that this does not necessarily apply is when it comes to residencies, right? I was just out in Georgia talking to the orthodontic school out there. Those folks, they're finishing up their orthodontic residency. They can buy a practice right out of that. You're not right out of dental school, right? You are gaining experience during that residency. It's going to depend a bit on the program and on the practice you're buying, but for the most part, if you are involved in a residency program, consider that part of your post graduation experience. Okay. All right. extra credit here when it comes to buying a dental practice. We've gone through the things that you need. Here's something that you should consider. Okay. I call this extra credit because as you're going through that first year out of dental school, especially, you are very busy just keeping your head above water, learning what you like, getting that hand speed up, all that stuff. But if you can squeeze in just a little bit more mental effort, learn anything. Not everything, okay? Learn anything about management. So what I mean here is there's a lot of stuff besides dentistry that you're going to be doing when you are in that owner's seat in a dental practice, taking care of the finances, the people in the practice, managing people. Oh man, it's a different beast than managing teeth. Marketing, leadership, all this stuff is stuff that you'll need to, or that you will be responsible for once you're in that owner's seat. So uh, there are some that I would say concentrate on more than others, because these brighter ones, the people management, the leadership side, the goal setting, these are things you can't necessarily offload very easily to somebody else. I suppose it's possible in some of these, with even these ones. But when it comes to finances, marketing, technology, that sort of thing, you can offload those pretty easily. Not for nothing, right? It'll cost you a little bit, but you can hire the CPA, get a management consultant or a marketing consultant, get one of those IT, like a rent and IT professional services. You can do all that. But with others like people management and leadership, can't really offload that. So grab, these would be some good books for you to get. You've probably seen volume 1 of How to Buy a Dental Practice, but there is a second volume. This one is all about managing that transition to ownership. So volume 1 is how do you get into the owner's chair, and then volume 2 is what do you do after that. Okay, so that would be a good one. The Effective Manager by Mark Horstman. That's a favorite around here at Dental Buyer Advocates. That's all about people management, and it is really valuable. And then lastly, if you do want to dig into just getting yourself familiar with the numbers side, you do not need to become a full-blown CPA, right? But if you want to get yourself a little familiarity with how the numbers of a small business work, then Simple Numbers Straight Talk would be a really good place to start. I read that one earlier this year and quite enjoyed it. So I think there's by the way, there's a new edition of that. So watch out. Make sure you get the second edition. Anyway, let's see. Otherwise, I think the last thing that I will mention is, and I stole this slide from a different presentation. If you want to go see how to find a practice to buy, you can check the archives on our YouTube channel. It should be on our Facebook page as well, but you'll be able to find that presentation I gave on finding a practice to buy. It's a simple process, but not a terribly easy one, right? So simple does not mean easy. But in this case, you can learn more about it if you go to that QR code. Again, I've got another QR code over there. That is a PDF. We'll send you a free PDF that has a lot of our distilled wisdom on what we've seen our clients have success with in the search for a practice to buy. So you can go check that out. You can learn all about this 80-20 rule, how to build your network. All of that stuff is there for you. All right. So in this case, I think we're going to skip the Q&A for today, but I will just point out at the bottom of every slide, if you've made it this far in the recording, then make sure that you note the email address and the URL down there at the bottom. You can get that through the QR code above my head as well. But I would love to hear from you. So any questions you have about these, about how this relates to your situation, what are the best next steps? If you want an introduction to great attorneys or bankers or what have you, I'm here to help. So email me or schedule a call with me, and I'll give you a ring when it's convenient for you. So with that in mind, thanks everybody today thank you everybody for following along. I'm glad you could join us for our weekly webinar. I will be back here next Friday to do this again. And so if you had questions that you didn't get to today, bring them with you next week and we will talk about it then. Thanks everybody for watching. Glad you're here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you next time.